been an honor to work with you. Real privilege to call you friend. Thanks. Now I'll go to the gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib.
No, thank you so much, Chairman. I'm so glad we're talking about surveillance. I think it's really important when I talk to constituents about what is happening. Before I do start, I just, to our chairman, thank you so much for indulging me on the struggles that we have with auto insurance in Michigan. I still don't understand what marital status or people's education level have to do whether or not they're a good driver. But hey, we're going to allow the auto insurance industry to discriminate against people that way and not do anything about it. But I know the chairman cared, so I appreciate that. So digital financials tools, as you guys know, like mobile banking, payment applications, have produced many convenient services, as we know. They've also created unprecedented, like just a huge amount of ability for companies to collect and sell our personal data. I hear this a lot. Of course, my constituents at town halls will talk about, my phone is listening to me, but they don't realize some of their actions online also is being collected and being used. And so, Mr. Butler, is it true that companies collect the data for their own use and also they can sell it to data brokers?
Yes, appreciate the question, Representative Tlaib, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's the Wild West when it comes to a lot of these services. There's just no rules that limit, in many cases, what companies collect and how they can use and sell our data.
Yeah, so brokers use the data to construct detailed profiles of individuals, influence whether or not someone can get a job, apartment. I think in one lawsuit, Rent Grow neither vets the third-party information it uses to generate tenant screening reports, nor monitors its services for errors and biases that could harm consumers. Are you aware of that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that this harkens back also to the point I made in my testimony about fairness. We have some of the policy infrastructure we need to tackle these problems in the form of the Fair Credit Reporting Act and ECOA and the legacy of the 1970s legislation, but we need to carry that forward into the 21st century.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing from groups talking about the impact on domestic violence survivors and have faced, faced discrimination based to data broker practices and misuse. And I'm so glad you brought up the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It addresses some of these challenges, correct?
Absolutely. I think that Congress was really prescient in the 1970s and recognizing the trajectory of computing and automation and how that and profiling and how that could impact individuals and really trying to lay the groundwork for what a fair system looks like and what it requires.
Mr. Butler, do you agree, like, it doesn't matter if you live in Detroit or in rural America, no matter if you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent, do you think Americans want this data collected?
No, I think that it is a truly bipartisan issue when you get down to people's preferences for wanting their data to be protected and wanting to feel respected and in control of their own information in the digital marketplace.
Do you know of any other really egregious abuse of this by data brokers?
We've seen really troubling stories in particular that implicate national security, the military. Increasingly, even members of law enforcement come under risk from their information getting leaked online. The risk of, physical violence against individuals that can be targeted is severe. We've even seen, precise location information being collected and used to target and track individuals. So I think there's real physical world stakes to this as well as the type of bias and discrimination profiling that you mentioned.
I know 18 individual states have actually passed some sort of consumer data privacy laws. I think the European Union passed something called the General Data Protection Regulation. What we can learn from those efforts, that action is needed, but what else, I think for many of my colleagues here to understand the urgency of moving on this issue.
Yeah, I think that what a lot of the discussion today tends to show is that technology and business models are moving rapidly ahead, and we need to make sure that our policies keep pace with that. So it's really important that lawmakers at the state level, at the federal level, the international level are trying to tackle this, and we really need to get to rules that truly protect individuals and don't just embed the bad practices of the last 3 decades in law.
I know that landlords may engage in discriminatory practices towards a certain group and so forth. Other than the Rent Grow lawsuit, have you seen any other lawsuits come forward because of the egregious privacy abuse that we've seen with some of the data brokers?
That's a great question. I can follow up on that. I don't have any top of mind, but can follow up on that.
All right. With that, I yield. Thank you, Mr. Chair.